Mm.
Hi, Abe.
Hello, Ernie. How are you?
Yeah, we're on I involve 76.
Hello,
Hi, Mario.
where are you?
Where am I? I'm in my home.
No, Abe. I'm asking Abe.
I'm in Hong Kong.
Oh my God.
What time of day is it there?
It's
Morning, huh?
it's yeah, it's
Oh,
10:15. 10:15.
oh, nice.
Yeah,
Nice. What's the
Must be
weather like there? What's the weather like there?
hot and
raining, hot, rainy, and humid.
Uh, do they have
Terrible.
kosher restaurants there?
many.
Yeah, right across the street.
Good, good.
It's passable. Shasat is
Chinese?
good.
Chinese?
No, it's a Swarty place, and it's good.
Are
Okay.
you going? Where are you in Kowloon?
Kowloon, Moded.
Yeah, one day. All right, about one day. Okay.
Okay. So we're on I involve 76.
Ernie, before we start, you were able to do that.
You saw, I sent it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I figured it out. I
I sent you the instructions.
I didn't understand what you were telling me to do. But
Okay.
whatever. I played around with it, and
Okay. All right.
I'm
Okay.
not sure why it developed into a 12-second video and then a longer one. I'm not sure
I
how that
don't
happened.
know.
Right. Okay. So Behema shenechtechu ragleim and arkuva lamata. So the hind leg, the back leg of a cow, damage to it can cause it to be treif. There is no damage to the front leg that can cause it to be a treif, only the back leg. Now, the Arkuva, the Gemara is going to have a debate. Basically, we have an ankle joint, but the hoof has a bone, a much larger metatarsal bone than we do. So, so that joint is sort of up in the air a little bit, not like our ankle bone, which is down. Then, like where our knee is where their ankle is. But then they have the tibia, which joins the thigh bone in their knee, but their knee is up high. If you look at a cow, it's very high up, almost
Mhm.
like near the rump. And then you have the thigh bone that goes into the hip. Okay. So the Gemara is going to have a debate. What does it mean, arkuva? Which joint is that? The Mishnah says if it's amputated below that joint, the animal is kshera. If there's an amputation in arkuva lamala, then it's psula. And then there's a third issue. The tendons of the leg all join to the back of that lower leg, the tarsal area. If those are removed, even without amputating the limb, it's also a siman treifa. Then it says nishbara etzem. If you have a fracture and it goes through the skin, it's called a compound fracture, but not amputated. So imrava basar kayim, if most of the flesh is there, shchitasu mataraso, you can eat the animal as well as the limb. Then the imlav ein shchitasu mataraso. The animal is kosher, but the limb cannot be eaten because it was fractured and compounded, then that is not allowable for consumption after shechita. Lamata means lamata min arkuva. Lamala min arkuva. And the Gemara asks the fundamental question: Eza arkuva amru? Which joint you talking about? The word arkuva means a joint. So is it the lower joint or the middle joint? Now, the lower joint with the leg, with the lower leg, with the hoof, used to be sold in the butcher markets with the head. So the Gemara answers barkuva nim keresim arosh, which means if it's amputated below that joint, then it's kosher. If it's amputated above that joint, then it's treif. However, Ula Amar Vashir Keneged Begamal Nicker. The camel has a real knee. So it's the second joint from the ground. That's the arkuva, like our knee joint, which in the cow is higher up. That's what it means below and above. If it's below that joint, it's kosher, so that's a big leniency. If it's above that joint amputated, it's treif. Armele Ula Rav Yehuda. Bishmaladidi, I mean, it connected with Gamal Nicker. My pshat, where it's the higher joint, the tzoymes sagidin, those tendons insert on the lower bone. So that's why there was a chiddush of the Mishnah, the amputating below that thigh bone, it's kosher. But if the tzoymes sagidin have been uprooted, it's also treif. But that wouldn't make any sense if the joint you're talking about is the lower joint. That's already being removed when you amputate it. That if you just have a bone amputated without injury to the tendons is one case, like a compound fracture. If it's above the joint, then it's treif. As long as and that would, even if the tzoymes sargidin are there, and the tzoymes sargidin below rechuva, you can also have a siman treifa where the tendons are disrupted, where the bone is not affected. Nechtechu is plural, which means the bone and the tendons. Ishtik. So Rav Yid had no response, but lebasar denafa gomar. After Ula left, Rav Yehuda thought to himself, my time, why didn't I say lemata min arkuva? It means it's the lower joint and it's below where the tzoymes sagidin come together, then it's kosher. Lamala means lamala mit tzoymes sagidin. If you cut it above where the tendons join, then it's treifa. It's not right above the lower joint, but higher up where the tendons are not joined, they're spread out. Hadar Omar, but then Rav Yehuda said, V'lo amri, I didn't give him that answer. Because V'omar li nechtechu ktani, because he said, oh, the Mishnah uses the word that they were both cut. Achanami min arkuva l'mala ktani. You can't get around the fact that the Mishnah says it's above the joint where the tzoymes sagidin is. So if the Mishnah is referring to the lower joint, you don't have to come and tell me again about the tzoymes sagidin. So Ula would not have backed down from his opinion that we're dealing with the second joint from the ground. Okay. Rav Papa Masniachi. Amar Rav Yidam Rav Amar Rav Chia lemata min arkuva mitzoymes sagidin. When is it kosher? When the amputation occurs below the knee joint, meaning the second joint. And below the tendon junction. And when it says lamala min arkuva mitzoymes sagidin. And when it's above that joint and the tendon, that could be a good answer. Or if the place where the tendons come together is completely moved. The arkuva gufa kedulam ravoshaya. And we see that everyone defines the arkuva as the second joint, the upper joint, the knee joint. But if you cut it near where the tzomis hagidin is, it's also treif. But if the tzomis hagidin remain okay, you could have a situation where you cut it, but it's still kosher. The Gemara doesn't understand. That if you cut it higher up on the leg, it lives, and mitati posik mesa. But if you cut it below it, it dies. On Ravashi, yeah. Treifus kamadamis ladodi. We've had this answer from Ravashi before. You can't come treifus. No, I mean treifus zudomilazu. Sharei chotcha mikanu mesa chotcha mikan v'chaya. You can cut here and it dies. You cut here and it lives. So we clarified that the joint we're talking about is the knee joint, not the bottom ankle joint. So where is the tzomis hagidin? Elu ein tzomis hagidin. Rabba Amar Ravashi da Agrama Olavar. Where these tendons away from the hoof, above the joint there, there's really no muscle there. It's just tendon. And the tendons are right next to the bone. As the tendons go up, it becomes more muscular. So the Rabbah says that tzomis hagidin, when they come together, is right where these tendons go away from the bone. That's the first shita. Rabbah Onam Ravashi, the Agrama Ulagav. It's right next to where it is in the bone. And Rabbah, Bered Rabbah Baravunam Ravashi, the Ilve Arkuma. It's above the arcum, which is a bone next to the, like part of the foot bone. Yosef Olam Rabbanan Kamed Ravav Yosef Kamar. The Arkuma Gufa. The bone itself is part of this tzomis hagidin. Armele Rababa Loy Titzaisu Lei. That's too machmir. Hachyam Rav Yudah Heicha de Pari Tabachi. Where the butchers sort of remove the tendon from the bone, that's where the tzomis hagidin is. V'ainu Rabba Bred Rabba Baravuna Ravasi, right above the arkum. Amir Amar Shmuel. Tzomis hagidin she'amru, these tendons, is makam shagidim tzoimli. It's where all the tendons come together. Ad kama, how far does it go up? Armalei Rabban Rav Yaakov Shmei, Kavinim Be Rav Yudah Merlan, Shimu b'ni Milsa the Migaver Rav Shmei Leumanu Shmuel. I heard this from a big great man Shmuel. Tzomis hagidin shamru makam shagidim tzoimli. It's where they join together. Then as they go up the leg, they spread. So that's the area of the tzomis hagidin. Kama, how much is this? Rabaya, arba batadi b'soira, 4 finger breaths by an ox. What about by a sheep? B'daka mai, or a goat? Rabaya, bliti avi tzomis hagidin, where they stick out from under the flesh. Bli lavi tzomis goyim, where they're sort of, they become the flesh, that's not the tzomis. Ashuni avi tzomis hagidin, but where they're hard, that's the junction. Rakivi lavi tzomis hagidin, where they're soft, no. Alimi avi tzomis hagidin, where they're thick, that's the coming together. Ketini lavi tzomis hagidin, where they're thin, that's not the place. Chivri ayu tzomis, where it's white, like the way tendons look, muscle is red, tendons are white. Lo chivri, wherever it becomes not white, lo avi tzomis hagidin. That's not the area of the tzomis hagidin. Mar Baravashi Omar, kivan de zine, even, it doesn't have to be white, just pale. Afagav lo chivri. They're still part of the gid. Omar Ameim Mishmeid Rav Zvid. Tolasa chuti avi. There are 3 tendons. Chad alimi utrektini. One is thick, two are thin. If sikalimi, if the thick one is torn, as the Rav Binyan, you still have 2 out of 3. But that the thick one is the major construct of the thing. So it's not good. If siktini, if the 2 thin ones are cut, as the Rav Binyan, then you have a majority that's been lost. Either case, it leads to a trephus. Marbavashi Masti Lakula, that if sikalima, hayeka Rav Minyan. He learned the leniency that if the thick one was cut, you still have 2 out of 3. If siktini, if the 2 thin ones are cut, hayeka Rav Minyan, but you have the majority of the strength, which is the thick one. Rashi and most of the Rishonim learn leniently. This is all about animals. What about birds? Ba'oifois, shitzer chutev, there are 16 tendons. Iposek chad minayu treifa. Even if one of them is cut, the bird is treif. I was by Ravashi. They brought a bird. He counted 15. There was one that was a little different in terms of how thin it was. Not seif ashkech tray. It was really 2 together. And therefore was kosher because it had 16. Amir Amarav. Soy Mesagid in Shemu, this, where the tendons come together, is Berubo. Rove of the Tzomas Agidin, the majority has to be cut. My Rubo. Rove Echad Mehem, the majority of even one of the tendons. Ki Amrita Kamei Shmuel, when I said this in front of Shmuel, Amarli, he told me, Michte Tlosavi, you said there were 3, not 1. So Ki Mifsek Chad Minay Legamri. So when one of them is completely cut, Hayek Trey, you still have 2 left. So if Rav of 1 is cut, that shouldn't make it treif. Therefore, time of the Iketray. As long as there's still 2 tendons that are not cut, it's kosher. Halek tray low. But if there are not at least 2, then it's not kosher. Upliga de Rav Noi, Dam Rav Noi Amar Shmuel, Tzomis Agidin, Afilu lo nishtayber la kechuta sarbo. He held that even if there was only 1 tendon that was very thin, ksheva. V'yigid Amri, my rubo kalecha ve'echad. Each tendon, the rov of it has to be intact. Ki amrita kamei Shmuel Amarli, when I said this in front of Shmuel, he said, Michtei tlosahavi. There are 3 tendons. And even if a majority of all of them had been cut, you still have a part of all 3, and therefore would not be treif. Messiah leila Rav Noi, the Amar Rav Noi Amar Shmuel, even if only 1 remains, that's very thin, the animal is kosher. And we paskin leniently. The Mishnah talked about broken bones, nishbara etze. Amrav l'malam and harkuva. If it's the knee, if the bone is broken above the knee, so im rav basar kaim, if the flesh remains zev zemuter. The limb as well as the animal can be eaten. Im lav, if the majority of the flesh is not there, zev ze osir. The animal is treif and the limb is certainly treif. If it's lamatim and arkuva, if it's below this joint, we're talking about the ankle joint. In rava basar kaim zev zemuter. If there's majority of flesh, both the limb and the animal are permitted. Im lav aver osir behemus muteras. The animal can be eaten, but not the limb. Ushmul amar bein lamala bein lamata. If the break is in the tibial bone, which is above the knee, or below it, on the bone that connects the tarsus to the knee, then either way, in Rava Basar Kayim, if you have the majority of the muscle, Zev mutter, and im lav, Aver Osr Be'em Muteras. The animal can be eaten, but not the limb. Masker Rav Nachman, Lishmuel Yomru Aver Mimena Mutal Bashpa Muteras. Understand. People will see the limb in a garbage dump, but the people are eating the rest of the animal. Rav Nachman, the Rav Nami. Rav also had a case where if it was broken below the bone, you couldn't eat the limb. So what? A limb that if the animal's life depends on it, how can you say it's thrown in the garbage and you can't eat it and the rest of the animal is okay? So Sholchu Misam, they sent from Eretz Yisrael, Hilchazeh Kavosi de Rav. The law that if it's a compound fracture above the ankle bone and there's not enough flesh there, it's treif. Later they sent a letter saying the law is like Shmuel. To Rav. Then they switched, and they said it's like Rav. Not only you cannot eat the limb, but it has tumas nevela. Motzif Rav Chisda. Lo. In a case of a limb that's coming out of a fetus from the womb, we have this machlokas whether the shchita is metar the limb from tumas nevela. So Rav Chisda said lo. Rav Meir responded, Im tiara shchitas treifa osa. If shechting a treif animal caused the whole animal not to be nevela, vesa evra medultul bo, and even a dangling ling, which are dover shagufa. These are things part of its own body. Titaris uber. Why would that be mitarid from tumas nevela, the limb that's dover shena gufa? So this seems to be against this thing about that they said that the leg would be a nevela. Armale Rabba Hadure Apirchi Lamalach. This baraisa is a very unusual baraisa. Oisiv Masnisim. If you're going to ask a kasha, ask it from a Mishnah that everybody knows. Nishchata be'ema, huchshru b'damea. An Avra Meduldul can be eaten because the blood of the shechita caused it to be hechshel kabel tumah. The Rab Meir. Rab Shimon never lo yochsharu. But it's talking about the Avra Meduldul, and it doesn't have tumas nevela. So, from our mission, it's not a kasha on the brayso we just said. We also sort of rejected this mission in the previous Gemara. And therefore, this price I'm bringing is a real kasha. Kisalak Rav Zera, Ashkel Rav Yemed Yosef Korban Lo Lashmaitzo. They were learning this sugya. Yasher v'chein tirgama Aryach b'Bavel. Aryach in Bavel held like Rav, that if it's the bone is broken above the ankle joint, and it's less than rove of the basar, then the animal's treif. So Aryach Manu, who is Aryach? Shmuel. Miflik Poli, but Shmuel argues with Rav. Harder by Shmuel agabe Rav. Eventually Shmuel changed his opinion and agreed with Rav. Tan Rabbana. Nishbar etzem v'yatzel l'chutz. It's a compound fracture. The bone broke through the skin. Im or ubasar chayfnes rubo. If the skin and muscle are covering the majority, mutter. It's kosher. Im lav aser. And the limb is kosher. But if there's not enough skin and flesh, the limb would be treif. Kamaruvo. Kios Rav Dimi Amar Rav Yochanan Rav Oivoi. We look at the thickness. V'amri lo Rav Ekefo, the circumference. Amar Rav Papa Yilkach being a Rav Oivoi ubin a Rav. You need both. The greater of the thickness of the bone and the circumference. Amar Ulam Rav Yochanan. Or Hareu Kabasar. Skin is like the muscle. If there's no flesh, like muscle, but there is a skin, and that covers the majority part of the thickness and the circumference, it's as if there's basar there, and it's kosher. Or why don't we just say or can be mitzaref with basar? The ha or basar ktani. The Brisa clearly talked about both. Anan or basar tanin. I didn't learn hitzarfus when I got this Brisa. I learned either or. It's either the skin or the flesh. Ikadi amri, amr ulam Rav Yochanan, or mitzaref lebasar. That it's not the skin alone. Skin be mitzaref to the basar. Amr Rav Nachman le'ulav v'leimamar or mashlim lebasar. L'chumra. It means the skin can finish something that is mainly flesh. I know a case. There was a bird by Rav Yitzchak. There was a broken bone that was covered by a combination of skin and muscle, like say 50-50. So you see, you can use skin to combine. You bring me a case from a bird? Bar goizla derach shani. A bird, the skin is soft. The bird's skin can be treated like basar, but the animal, it's much tougher, therefore cannot be treated like basar. So it can only complete the cover, but it can't serve as a big amount. Hanu gidin rachin da'asla kamei derava. There was an animal with a broken leg. And the defect was covered by flesh and some of the tendons. Amar Rava, l'may lechesh l'hi. Are the tendons treated like basar? Chadad Amar Rav Yochanan gidin shesoifen la'akshas. Gidin eventually become hard. And perhaps, therefore, we can't use them with basar. But here they were still soft because it was young. Maybe it can be used. Okay, we'll stop here. Yeah, today is, what's the date? Wednesday. Okay, tomorrow night, 7:15.
Hey,
Very good, everybody.
Ernie. Left. Okay. Maria, we get a mazel tov. Liora had a little girl now while I was in the shir.
Mazel tov.
Mazel tov.
Okay.
Mazel tov.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay. Simchas. Bye. Thank you.